The ship had been quiet for the first time in many days. Lieutenant Aaron Cole stood alone in his assigned room, looking at the smooth metal wall that slowly changed color with the ship's artificial night cycle. He had survived 3 emergency alerts, 1 boarding attempt, and a diplomatic disaster that almost turned into a war. Now, finally, command had ordered him to rest. The room was small but clean. A bed, a desk, a locker, and a narrow viewport showing distant stars. Aaron removed his jacket, placed it neatly on the chair, and let out a long breath. His hands were still shaking, not from fear, but from exhaustion. He had saved lives today, not just human lives. During the attack earlier, a section of the ship had been breached. Alien delegates from the Lyrian Collective were trapped in a decompression zone. Most species would not survive that kind of environment. Aaron had gone in anyway, sealing doors manually and dragging survivors out one by one while alarms screamed around him. One of them had been her. He did not know her name at the time. She had silver-blue skin, large, dark eyes, and fragile limbs that looked like they might break under pressure. She had been unconscious, her breathing shallow. Aaron remembered how light she felt in his arms, how carefully he had held her, as if she were made of glass. Medical teams had taken over. He had moved on to the next emergency. Now, hours later, his body finally remembered that it was tired. Aaron sat on the edge of the bed and rubbed his face. He planned to sleep, just sleep, nothing more. Then the door chimed softly. Aaron frowned. No one should be visiting him now. His shift was over and his room access was restricted. "Enter," he said, assuming it was a system check or a delayed report. The door slid open. She walked in. The alien female from earlier stepped into the room with calm, steady steps. She looked fully healed, her posture straight, her eyes alert. She wore a long, layered garment made of thin, shimmering fabric that covered her from neck to feet. Aaron stood up immediately. "Can I help you?" he asked, keeping his voice respectful. She looked around the room, then back at him. Her eyes focused on his face, studying him with deep attention. Then she smiled. It was not playful, it was not teasing, it was peaceful. Before Aaron could say anything else, she reached up and unclasped the outer layer of her clothing. The fabric slid down her shoulders and fell softly to the floor. Then the next layer followed, and the next. Aaron froze. She stood before him without her garments, her skin faintly glowing in the room's low light. She did not strike a pose. She did not move closer. She simply stood there and smiled, her hands relaxed at her sides. Aaron's mind went blank for half a second. Then training, discipline, and common sense rushed back all at once. "Wait," he said quickly, turning his body slightly away. "Please stop. I think there is a misunderstanding." She tilted her head, the smile never leaving her face. "There is no error," she said in careful, translated common. "I have followed the correct response." Aaron swallowed. His heart was beating hard, not with desire but panic. This was a diplomatic ship. Anything like this could end his career or worse. "I don't understand," he said honestly. "Why are you here?" "You preserved my life," she replied. "You placed yourself in danger for a being not of your species. You carried me when you could have fled." She took one step forward. Aaron took one step back, raising a hand not in threat but in request. "Please," he said, "just let me get you something to wear." Her eyes widened slightly. Confusion flickered across her expression for the first time. "You reject the offering?" she asked. "There is no offering," Aaron said firmly. "At least not like this." Silence filled the room. She looked down at herself, then back at him. Slowly, she wrapped her arms around her torso, not in shame but uncertainty. "In my culture," she said carefully, "removal of protective layers in private space signifies absolute trust. It is the highest form of gratitude. It means I acknowledge you as one who chose restraint when dominance was possible." Aaron felt a strange tightness in his chest. "I didn't save you for gratitude," he said. "I saved you because it was right." Her eyes softened even more. "That answer is why I am here." A warning light blinked softly on the wall. Aaron glanced at it and cursed under his breath. The ship's monitoring systems had detected an irregular private interaction between species. This was bad. "Listen," Aaron said quickly. "This situation could be misinterpreted by ship command. I don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want either of us to." She looked at the blinking light, then back at him. "In my experience," she said slowly, "trouble follows when one refuses dominance." "That's not how humans work," Aaron replied. He walked carefully to his locker, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. He pulled out a spare thermal blanket and held it out to her, not stepping closer. "This is just a covering," he said. "No meaning. Just warmth and privacy." She hesitated, then accepted it. She wrapped it around herself, the glow of her skin dimming slightly as she did. Her smile faded, replaced by a thoughtful expression. "I am called Sailari," she said. "Of the Lyrian." "Aaron Cole," he replied. "Human." They stood there for a moment, two beings from different worlds, surrounded by humming machinery and unspoken rules. "Sailari," Aaron said gently, "you don't owe me anything, not your body, not your trust, not even your thanks." She studied him as if he were a puzzle. "Then why did you choose me?" she asked. "I didn't choose you," he answered. "I chose to help whoever was there." She nodded slowly, as if this answer confirmed something important. The warning light changed color. A soft tone followed. Ship security had been alerted. Footsteps echoed faintly in the corridor outside. Sailari's eyes widened. "Have I caused you harm?" "No," Aaron said immediately, "but others might not understand." She looked down at the blanket again. "They will think I submitted." "Then we will explain," Aaron said. The door chimed again, this time sharply. "Lieutenant Cole," a voice said from outside, "please open the door." Aaron took a steady breath. He stepped forward and opened it. Two security officers stood outside, accompanied by a tall, insect-like alien from diplomatic oversight. All eyes moved quickly from Aaron to Sailari. The moment stretched tight. The oversight delegate clicked its mandibles. This interaction was flagged as a private ritual of submission. Aaron stood straight. "It was a misunderstanding," he said clearly. "No ritual occurred. No consent was requested or given." Sailari stepped forward, holding the blanket firmly around herself. "The human showed restraint," she said. "He rejected dominance." The delegate paused. "That is unusual," it said. "It is human," Aaron replied. The officers exchanged glances. One of them nodded slightly. "Escort the Lyrian delegate back to her quarters," the delegate said slowly. "This incident will be reviewed." Sailari turned to Aaron before leaving. Her eyes met his, and her smile returned, changed now quieter, deeper. "You did not accept what was freely given," she said softly. "Among my people, that makes you dangerous in a way I do not yet understand." She left with the guards. The door closed. Aaron stood alone again, his heart still racing. Outside his room, across the ship, across the Alliance, unseen observers were already recording notes. A human had been given power, and he had refused it. The galaxy would not forget that. The review began the next morning. Aaron Cole stood inside a circular chamber made of glass and light. The room floated at the center of the ship's diplomatic ring, separated from the rest of the station by silence fields and observation layers. Around him, seated at different heights and distances, were representatives of 12 species. Some had eyes, some did not. All of them were watching him. He kept his hands at his sides and his posture relaxed, just as training had taught him. He had faced armed enemies before. This felt different. These beings were not here to fight him. They were here to judge him. Sailari stood across the chamber, wrapped now in formal Lyrian robes. The soft glow of her skin was dimmer, controlled. She looked calm, but Aaron could tell she was tense. Her hands were clasped together, fingers interwoven in a way that suggested restraint. The chief arbitrator, a tall being of segmented crystal and soft light, spoke first. "Lieutenant Aaron Cole," it said. "You are summoned to explain an encounter flagged as a private submission ritual between species." Aaron nodded once. "I understand. You may speak freely," the arbitrator continued. "All statements are recorded." Aaron took a slow breath. The encounter was not a ritual. It was a misunderstanding. Delegate Sailari came to my quarters to express gratitude according to her culture. I refused any act that could be interpreted as dominance or acceptance of submission. A low murmur passed through the chamber. Several delegates shifted, their body language sharp with interest. The arbitrator turned its attention to Sailari. "Delegate of the Lyrian, do you confirm this account?" "Yes," Sailari said. Her voice was steady. "I entered the human's private space believing it was proper to remove protective layers. He did not approach me. He did not touch me. He provided covering and requested explanation." One of the delegates, a broad, scaled being from a high-gravity world, leaned forward. "You expected dominance," it said bluntly, "and you were denied." "Yes," Sailari replied. The scaled delegate made a low sound of confusion. "Why?" All eyes returned to Aaron. "Because," Aaron said, "gratitude does not require surrender. And trust does not require vulnerability without choice." The chamber fell silent. Another delegate, thin and many-limbed, spoke next. In most interstellar societies, refusal of submission is an insult. I did not intend insult, Aaron replied. I intended respect. The arbitrator's light pulsed softly. Human concepts of interaction differ greatly from established norms. They do, Aaron agreed, but they are consistent. The scaled delegate tilted its head. Explain. Aaron considered his words carefully. Humans believe that power means responsibility. If someone places themselves at your mercy, the test is not whether you take advantage. The test is whether you protect them. The silence deepened. Salari's eyes never left Aaron's face. The arbitrator spoke again. This explanation has been recorded. The review will continue. The session ended without judgment. Aaron was escorted back to his quarters, this time with 2 guards standing outside his door. He sat on the edge of his bed and let the tension drain slowly from his body. He knew this was not over. Across the ship, information spread faster than official reports. Stories moved through mess halls, engineering bays, and diplomatic lounges. A human had refused what others would have taken. Some found it confusing, others found it unsettling. In the Lyrian delegation quarters, Salari stood before a circular display, watching recorded fragments of the hearing. Around her were elders of her people, their forms taller, their glow brighter with age. You endangered yourself, one elder said. The galaxy does not reward restraint. Salari turned to face them. It should. You place trust in a species not yet understood, another elder warned. They are understood, Salari replied. They are simply rare. The elders exchanged glances. Explain, the first said. Salari lifted her chin. He had opportunity, he had privacy, he had authority. He chose none of them. That choice is not weakness, it is control. The elders were silent for a long moment. Far from the diplomatic ring, beyond the main traffic lanes, another group was also listening. The Car Dominion had watched the hearing with great interest. To them, power was simple. Strength ruled. Submission followed. Cultures that offered vulnerability deserved domination. The Lyrian had long frustrated them, their customs making conquest difficult but not impossible. Now, however, a problem had appeared. Humans, a species that refused dominance, could not be manipulated by offering submission. Worse, they might interfere. A car commander turned away from the display. Prepare an envoy, he ordered. If humans will not accept power, we will force them to choose. 2 days later, the envoy arrived. The car representative was granted audience with the council under the guise of trade negotiation. Their ships waited at a polite distance, weapons hidden but ready. Aaron was not part of the meeting. He was ordered to remain in quarters. He knew that meant trouble. Salari requested permission to attend. It was granted. Inside the council chamber, the car envoy spoke smoothly. We wish to formalize protection over the Lyrian systems. Their customs make them vulnerable. We would ensure their survival. The elders stiffened. Salari stepped forward. Your protection requires surrender. Yes, the envoy said simply, as it always has. A murmur spread through the chamber. The envoy's eyes shifted toward the human observers. Humans, too, will learn this. Power is taken or lost. At that moment, alarms sounded, not the loud, screaming kind. The quiet kind that meant something had already gone wrong. A Lyrian transport vessel had been intercepted near the outer lanes. Its distress signal flickered weakly on the display. The car envoy did not react. Salari's glow flared bright with fear. That ship carries unbonded delegates, she said. They are vulnerable. The arbitrator turned toward the car. Do you deny involvement? The envoy smiled, a gesture that held no warmth. This is how lessons are taught. Before the council could respond, a new signal cut through the chamber. Human command. Diplomatic council, the voice said. Human escort vessels are moving to intercept. This action is taken under protection of allied civilians. The car envoy laughed softly. You will start a war over weakness? The arbitrator hesitated. Many species would. Humans did not wait. Aaron stood on the bridge of a human frigate less than an hour later. He had not been ordered there. He had volunteered, and command had agreed. He watched the stars stretch as the ship jumped to intercept. Target in sight, the navigator reported. The Lyrian transport drifted ahead, damaged but intact. Car vessels flanked it, their weapons powered but not firing. Open channel, the captain said. Aaron leaned forward as the car commander appeared on the display. Release the transport, the captain ordered. The car commander's eyes flicked to Aaron. Recognition sparked. This is the one, the car said. The human who refused? Yes, Aaron replied calmly. And now I choose. Choose what? The car asked. Protection, Aaron said, not dominance, the car sneered. You will lose. Maybe, Aaron said, but not today. Human ships moved into formation, placing themselves between the transport and the car fleet. Shields flared. Weapons charged but did not fire. The car hesitated. They had expected fear. They had expected negotiation. They had not expected humans to place themselves in danger without demanding control. After a long, tense moment, the car ships disengaged. The transport was secured. Back on the diplomatic ship, the news spread quickly. Humans had acted, not for gain, not for conquest, for choice. Scifi watched the final reports in silence. One of her elders turned to her. The galaxy will adapt, the elder said slowly, or it will resist. Scifi smiled, the same quiet, deep smile Aaron had seen before. Then it will learn, she replied. In his quarters, Aaron removed his jacket and sat down, exhausted to his bones. He had not sought attention. He had not planned to make a statement. He had simply acted the only way he knew how. Outside his door, guards still stood watch. Beyond them, beyond the ship, beyond the stars, a new idea was spreading. That power could be refused. And that humans were the kind of species who would do it again. The aftermath of the car incident was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Aaron Cole returned to his quarters, but he was not alone in thought. The corridors hummed with quiet conversation, whispers of humans acting with restraint, a trait unfamiliar and unsettling to most species. He could feel the weight of every eye in the alliance, yet he remained calm. That calmness, that simple clarity of choice, had become his power. Scifi came to his quarters the next day, not unannounced, but through the proper channels. She wore formal robes, the ceremonial fabrics of her people that shimmered with subtle energy. Yet there was no tension in her steps. Her presence was quiet but strong, like a signal the universe could not ignore. Aaron stood as she entered. You are here again, he said simply. I am here, she replied, to offer what I should have the first night. A formal greeting with honor according to my culture, not out of obligation but recognition. Aaron nodded. Recognition for what? For your choice, she said softly. Among all who would have taken advantage, you did not. You preserved dignity where others would not. Aaron smiled faintly. I did what any human would, or at least what we try to do. You are unique, Scifi said, her eyes bright. You are dangerous because you act without fear of power and yet you respect it. That is rare. They sat in silence for a moment, looking out the viewport at stars that seemed impossibly far away. The galaxy, it seemed, was listening. Weeks passed. The Alliance formally recognized the events as a precedent for interspecies conduct. Humans were now being studied not for their strength in battle, but for the restraint they exercised in situations where dominance was possible. Reports highlighted that the human choice had prevented a war, preserved lives, and reshaped diplomatic expectations. Aaron's name appeared in countless records, though he had not sought attention. He remained a lieutenant, still patrolling corridors, still coordinating ship operations, yet quietly aware that the galaxy was learning from him. Scifi visited frequently, but always formally, always with respect. They discussed strategy, culture, and ethics. Aaron learned about the Lyrian ways, their art of light manipulation, their memory-sharing rituals, their precise language of trust. Scifi learned from humans about compassion, judgment, and the way restraint could be stronger than force. One evening, Aaron and Scifi stood on a balcony overlooking the docking bays. Ships of many species drifted in orderly formations, all participating in coordinated drills, all aware of the subtle but undeniable shift that humanity had brought. Do they understand? Aaron asked quietly. Some, Scifi said. Others fear, but all watch. Your choice has changed expectations. Your restraint has given them reason to reconsider what strength truly means. Aaron nodded. I never wanted to change the galaxy. I only wanted to do what was right. Sometimes, she said, what is right becomes a lesson stronger than force. The Alliance called for a summit to formalize the new protocols. Aaron and Scifi were present as humans were granted observer roles in interspecies law, not because of power, but because of integrity. Delegates from dozens of species watched as humans insisted that submission should never be coerced. That trust was voluntary, and that protection, not exploitation, was the measure of strength. During the summit, a tense moment occurred when a minor conflict flared on the communications channels. Another species attempted to challenge Lyrian sovereignty, misreading old customs as weakness. A human task force led by Aaron intervened not with overwhelming force, but with presence, protection, and clear demonstration of restraint. The challenge dissipated without violence. Selari observed the interaction, her eyes wide with admiration. "You teach through action," she whispered. "Not words, not power, action alone." Aaron felt tired but satisfied. The galaxy had changed subtly, irrevocably. He had not sought this, yet he had given an example that others would remember. Weeks turned into months. Aaron continued his duties on the diplomatic ship, escorting envoys, managing crises, and assisting in negotiations. Selari often accompanied him, both as observer and as partner in understanding the delicate balance between species. During one particularly quiet night, the ship drifted through a field of stars that glowed like lanterns across space. Aaron sat alone in his quarters, reflecting on the journey. Every decision, every small act of restraint had rippled farther than he could have imagined. The galaxy's opinion of humanity had shifted, not through conquest or threat, but through the simple act of choosing respect over power. There was a soft knock at his door. It was Selari. She entered not abruptly, not formally, but simply. She carried a small device containing a recorded message from her people. It was a message of thanks, not just to him, but to humanity. "The Council of the Lyrian wishes to honor the humans," she said. "For the lesson you taught the galaxy, that strength is measured by what you protect, not what you take." Aaron listened quietly, humbled. Recognition had never been his goal, yet here it was. "You changed things," Selari continued. "The galaxy will remember your choice and others will follow. They will study your restraint, your discipline, your courage in refusing what could have been taken. That is rare." Aaron smiled faintly. "I just did what I had to do." "And yet," Selari said, "that simple choice has done more than force ever could. That is the power of humanity." They sat together in silence, looking out at the stars. Outside, ships of all species continued their duties, unaware of the subtle, lasting shift that had occurred. The galaxy was calmer, more cautious, more aware. It would not forget that humans acted differently, that they chose dignity over dominance, protection over exploitation. Aaron knew there would be challenges ahead, but for now, he allowed himself a moment of peace. He had not sought glory, he had not sought recognition. He had simply acted as a human should, honestly, bravely, with respect. And that, he realized, was enough to change the course of countless lives. Selari smiled at him once more, a quiet, deep smile filled with understanding and respect. "Let them learn," she said softly. "We will remind them of what it means to be human." Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders, but also its hope. Humanity had shown its strength, not through force, but through choice. And that was a lesson no one could forget. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but in that expanse, humanity's influence glowed quietly, steadily, and with promise. He would continue to act, to protect, and to choose rightly. And the galaxy would watch, learn, and remember. In that quiet, unassuming way, Aaron Cole understood that the smallest acts could echo farther than the loudest battles. And the human way, resilient, compassionate, restrained, would guide the galaxy toward a future that none of its species could have imagined. He leaned back in his chair, letting the calm fill him. Selari remained nearby, her presence steady, her understanding complete. For once, no alarms, no reports, no crises. Just the endless stars and the knowledge that they had done something extraordinary without seeking reward, without demanding recognition, simply by being human. The galaxy had noticed, and it would never be the same.